Now listen, today's video is a special one. And since it happens to be the birthday of the lamest rapper pushing 40, we've got some things to talk about. Before we go any further, I need everyone to leave a like. Get ready and say it with me. Really say it with me. Now, when it comes to Drake, I don't care that it's the cupcake's birthday. We've got to do this. If you're ready to see how we're entering a new era for Drake, one that's going to be even more corny, embarrassing, and downright pathetic than ever before, then leave a like and subscribe right now. Because trust me, we're going to need it for the truth we're about to uncover. While Drake's cupcake fans are busy baking for his birthday so they can celebrate being cupcakes, the party's over. We got to interrupt the festivities because what's happening right now is very clear. Drake decided to take a sort of mini break this week, or as we might call it, a Drake break. And what I mean by that is how desperately he's been trying to stay in the spotlight from all the strange, smaller moves he's been making, especially compared to his past antics. It's obvious something's off. Even with all the teasing around the red button and the so-called Iceman project, which, let's be real, melted months ago, his team keeps pretending it's still happening. Meanwhile, Drake's been in the Bahamas, embarrassing himself alongside Johnny Manziel. And honestly, seeing a 39-year-old man still acting like that is just sad. But we'll move on. Now, OVO insiders have hinted that Drake and his team have been in the studio, possibly working on something new. Maybe a single, maybe the Iceman project. But first, let me remind the OVO community and all the Drake stans. I told you Iceman wasn't dropping on his birthday. And once again, you've never looked more wrong. All those wild theories about Drake pulling off the greatest industry comeback or some kind of birthday surprise. Completely false. And honestly, you should have known that before posting them. Still, with people in OVO teasing studio sessions and mixing track for Iceman or whatever else they're doing to polish bad Drake music, it does seem like a new era is beginning. Whether that means a full-length project, a new song, or just another annoying rollout, something is clearly shifting in Drake's world. And what I'm calling this new phase, what I want everyone to remember, is the corny era. Because right now, Drake is making some of the most cringeworthy, embarrassing moves of his entire career. Things are about to get bad. And while I might lose it a little, I'm going to do my best to stay calm and locked in. I'm not going to lie. When you have a guy who once tried to act like a competitive rapper, but is now doing some of the saddest and most pathetic things imaginable, it's hard to even take him seriously anymore. What I'm referring to here is Drake's ongoing crash out, which has gone absolutely terribly for him. He's lost a lot lately. And as we discussed earlier this week, that includes the recent lawsuit that cost him a massive amount of money, likely in the tens of millions, maybe even hundreds. And now, we're watching Drake spiral and self-destruct in real time more than ever before. It genuinely looks like he's trying to make up for all those losses, not just for himself, but for his team, OVO, and even UMG, since he's got to help cover the damage he's caused. But how is he doing that? By leaning fully into some of the most cringeworthy, pathetic moves we've ever seen. He's showing once again that he refuses to act his age or take responsibility for anything. Instead, he's choosing to humiliate himself on a level that's honestly hard to believe. Take, for example, this new Drake's Warehouse collaboration. Earlier, he dropped a batch of corny merch, and now he's released even more to celebrate his birthday. October's very own season and all that. But when you look at what he's actually putting out, like those Hate Survivor sweatshirts, it's clear what he's doing. He wants fans to wear his victimhood, to publicly display his self-pity and bitterness. It's become so over the top that most people are just tired of it. Think about it. After Kendrick Lamar completely washed him in that whole beef, who would have guessed Drake would turn into a merch peddler pushing hoodies that glorify his victim complex? It's wild. How did we ever even compare these two artists? How were they ever mentioned in the same breath? These hoodies, by the way, aren't even new. They've been sitting around since the For All the Dogs era. You could even spot them in the 8 a.m. in Charlotte music video. But now Drake's trying to make them the defining items of the OVO brand. It's just another desperate, cringe tactic, like the It's All a Blur tour, to paint himself as someone who's overcome struggles and adversity. But let's be honest, we see right through it. You haven't overcome anything, Drake. You're hanging out with Johnny Manziel in Bahamas, pretending to be unbothered, but in reality, you've lost more than ever, and all because of your own embarrassing decisions. And when you look at the rest of this new merch drop, every item meant to cash in on fake sympathy, all it really does is further embarrass Drake, his fans, his brand, and whatever credibility he still had left in the rap game. I mean, just look at what Drake's putting out right now. From the CLB bonnet, to the Hotline Bling float, to the For All the Dogs hair clips, to the Marvin's Room shirt, which honestly just highlights how much he's lost, and even the More Life costume modeled after his dad, Dennis Graham. Altogether, when you see what Drake has resorted to, it's honestly wild. Out of everything he could be doing at this point in his career, he's choosing to sell these cheap, tacky items that reference different eras of his past. It's like he's running the most cringe, corny gift shop in hip-hop history. And you know what? Drake fans, this is the birthday celebration for your cupcake king that you deserve, because this is the pinnacle of what you're going to get. Even with all the talk about a new era, the endless teasing of new music, and the delusional idea that Iceman hasn't completely melted, you've got nothing. Absolutely nothing that helps your case. Nothing that makes you look cooler. And nothing that earns Drake any respect outside the strange little circle known as OVO. So go ahead. Enjoy the Drake's Dad costume and all the other weird novelty items that celebrate the fact that your favorite artist has turned losing and crashing out into a lifestyle brand. Because that's all this is. At this point, Drake has built his entire identity around being caricature, a cartoonish villain who's flanderized himself beyond recognition. The fact that people are proudly wearing hoodies that say, "Hate Survivor," says it all. He's officially turned himself into a cosmic-level joke. I don't think we've ever seen a rapper this corny or this embarrassing. But you know what? This is exactly what he asked for. Every decision he's made in this era has led him here. A 39-year-old man still stuck in the same cycle of immaturity, acting like the same guy he was a decade ago. Despite all the fame, money, and success, Drake hasn't grown one bit. He's still embarrassing himself publicly, now just doing it with Johnny Manziel by his side. And speaking of Manziel, he's one of the people in the Bahamas hyping up the supposed Iceman project, claiming it's almost ready and about to drop. He's acting like this is a major announcement for the rap world, as if his word holds any real weight. But come on, are we really supposed to take Johnny Manziel seriously as the spokesperson for Drake's music? This isn't Funk Flex in the 2010s. This is a washed athlete hyping up his buddy's unreleased tracks. Let's stop pretending there's any real excitement here. Drake's probably just playing some mid-tier, uninspired music for his friends, who, being the biggest yes men in the industry, keep telling him it's fire. And that right there's one of the biggest reasons he's fallen off so hard. Nobody around him is honest enough to say when the music is trash. Because if they were half of Drake's recent songs, maybe even his albums would sound completely different. Well, at this point, with Drake standing on the brink of his 40s, it really feels like it's over for him. I don't know how much longer he can keep up this act, running around as a clown of the rap game while pretending he's plotting some grand comeback. Because let's be honest, there's nothing there. There's no real plan, no creativity, no substance behind those cupcake eyes. And as Drake celebrates another birthday, with OVO fans baking their little Aubrey cupcakes and doing whatever bizarre things his fan base does, it's becoming clearer than ever that he's entering a completely different chapter of his career. One defined by new expectations, higher standards, and aging audience that's starting to move on. In this next phase, how Drake chooses to age will determine everything. Will he evolve into an artist who finds a mature lane and keeps some relevance? Or will he fully become a parody of himself, a walking joke for the rest of his career? Because right now, it's looking like the latter. If Drake continues on the same path, his music will soon mean absolutely nothing. We're already dangerously close to that point. Eventually, the releases will stop because no one will take them seriously. Not the fans, not the critics, not the culture. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to end that way. If Drake were to actually grow, focus on improving his music, show some genuine maturity, and please, stop hanging around with Yeek, there might still be a sliver of redemption left. If he actually dropped a real rap record again, some people in the game might be willing to give him a small spot, maybe 7th place, maybe at the bottom of the rankings, just to let him exist in his own creative lane. That would at least allow him to make music into his later years with some dignity. But make no mistake, this next year is critical. As Drake steps into his 40s, this is his final chance to prove he can adapt, to make something that lasts, real songs with staying power, not just empty hits built on hype. Because if he can't do that, if he keeps delivering the same tired material we've seen in the Iceman era, the name Drake will soon carry no weight at all. To future generations, he'll be irrelevant, a reminder of a desperate artist who couldn't evolve. And considering how badly this recent run has gone, filled with flop after flop and chart declines that even numbers-obsessed Drake can't spin, it's clear he's already fading fast. So this is it. Drake's last real opportunity to save what's left of his legacy before 40. But as it stands, it looks like he'll keep doing exactly what he's been doing, embarrassing himself, repeating the same mistakes, and doubling down on the same corny antics. And listen, I'm just calling it how it is. If Drake were even half the artist or man capable of genuine growth, there might still be a shot at redemption. But as Absol once said, redemption is reserved for those who change. And right now, Drake doesn't look like he's changing at all. But since we already know who Drake really is, the games he plays, how petty and immature he can be with everything he does, we don't need to fool ourselves. Nothing meaningful is going to come out of this. The truth is, his music career isn't getting fixed. What we're witnessing now is a fast track to Drake becoming the ultimate weirdo grifter streamer. The guy who'll probably end up hanging out with Aiden Ross, an ex-QC for the rest of his days. And as for his influence in rap, his relationships, his credibility, even his relevance among other artists, all of that is steadily fading away. When you look at how Drake's been pivoting lately, how he's been talking and acting, it's obvious he's making one last desperate attempt to keep his rap career alive. But at the same time, he's already building a safety net, a backup plan, where if it all falls apart, he can just retreat into that streamer/influencer bubble with his equally embarrassing friends. And that's the sad part, because if that is his endgame, it means Drake's not even focused on being a rapper anymore. Sure, that might sound obvious given how he's been moving, but think about it. Tying your brand and legacy to people like Aiden Ross, XQC, or DJ Academics instead of names like Kendrick Lamar, Jay-Z, Tupac, or Eminem, that's a massive downgrade. And that shift is going to completely change how people view his legacy in the long run. But as Drake continues to slide further down this rabbit hole, I can't help but wonder, where will he be a year from now, on his 40th birthday? I want to look back at this exact moment and see what's become of him. Has he managed to claw his way back into rap? Even if just as a mid-tier player, maybe a 10 seed in basketball terms, barely making the play-in tournament? Or will he have fully transitioned into a washed-up influencer, forever chasing clout on Twitch streams and podcasts? Because truthfully, there is still a small lane for him. If he made genuinely good music again, the rap landscape is huge and diverse. There's room for everyone, even Drake. If the music were strong enough, some listeners would give him another chance, because that's just how this culture works. But it doesn't look like that's where things are heading. Instead, it feels like we're about to see even more whining, more complaining, and more intentionally awful releases. Songs that might as well be Drake's slow farewell to the rap game. So, yeah, I think the next chapter for Drake is going to be wild to watch. And when we look back a year from now, it'll probably confirm what we're already seeing. That Drake's downfall isn't temporary. It's transformation. And to quote one of his own album titles, but not in the way his fans would hope, nothing was the same. But before I go, I just want to say this to Drake, and to all the stans who keep crying in my comments, listen for Cupcak's birthday. And as a Cupcake fan myself, I gotta be honest. Y'all are so far gone. But don't worry, you'll thank me later. Because one day, you're gonna have to take care after nothing was the same. And if you're reading this, well, it's too late. Because everyone's already seen the views, and they know Drake's got nothing left to give. Honestly, the rest of his album titles are so bad, I can't even make a good joke out of them. So I'm just going to leave it there. Now listen, if you made it this far into the video, thank you. Seriously, that support means everything. If you haven't already, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts. Is Drake really embracing his victim era? And what do you think this next chapter means for him? The fall off or the final form? Either way, I hope you have an amazing day, an even better weekend, and keep enjoying life. And if you want to stick around a little longer, check out my next video on how Tyler, the creator, just sent a message to everybody about this whole cancellation storm and why he might have just changed the game again. This was fantastic hip hop. I'll see you soon.